Cowboy Bebop. Oh man, Cowboy Bebop. I remember 11. Well, I remember a long time ago staying up late on Tsunami to watch Cowboy Bebop, only to be sent to bed by my dad. My dad would get home right when Bebop would start, which was late at night on Adult Swim. And my dad would say, "Go to sleep," and I was like, "Oh no, this is my anime. I gotta watch it." He'd say, "Go to sleep," and I was like, "Oh damn it!" But Cowboy Bebop is one of the best animes out there. One of the best. The director of that show was allowed to do whatever he wanted, and that's what accounts for why it's so good, because it had freedom of expression. There was no, there were no restrictions. They told the director, do what you want to do, and that's what he did. And he made one of the greatest animes that ever existed. The first episode, where you pity the Mexican woman who got, blown out over her drug addicted boyfriend and whatnot. And then the series progressed and introduced the Faye Valentine, and it introduced the dog, and introduced the little, the hacker kid. And then Spike, his past ends up catching up to him. And then Jet, his past ends up catching up to him. And they try to overcome it. In the midst of all that, they got the filler episode, the thing in the refrigerator. And then Ed and I leave, and then he got Perret LaFau, that demented, fat thing that got stepped on by a giant dog. You know what I'm talking about. And then Julia gets involved. This Vicious episode 5. Spike and Vicious get into a fight. Vicious throws Spike through the cathedral glass, but Spike drops a grenade. And you would think, oh, what, Spike's messed up, because Vicious really did a number on him. But Spike still dropped the grenade, and it was a huge boom, and you would think that, oh, Vicious got blown up. Now, they don't explain what happened. Whatever happened, we all know that Vicious ended up surviving that. And Spike ended up getting all bonded up, and he was hurt, and Faye was like, oh, like I was taking care of you, and Spike had a chance to smash, and he was like, you sink off too, and she ended up smacking him, and I was like, oh man, you gotta have something going on. And then we had more episodes like the mushroom one, and then they had like I mentioned, Perret LaFau. And then at the end, we find out that Spike, his past ends up catching up to him. His colleague gets executed by Vicious. Another one of his close comrades, a fat woman that takes care of a shop, gets machine gun in her gut, ends up dying. Spike ends up deciding, you know what, I'm gonna avenge her. He meets up back with Julia. She threatened to shoot him, but she can't because Julia is hot for him. And then she gets killed. And then Spike is at the point where he's like, I got nothing left to live for. I gotta go all out. He goes back to the ship. He starts arming himself with guns and ammo. And Jet's like, you know what? Jet knows at that point that he's not gonna come back, and so he kind of challenges Spike. He's like, "What are you doing?" And Spike tells him, he's like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do this, and that. And Jet's like, you don't gotta do that. And Spike's like, yeah, I do. And before Spike heads out, Faye stops him. Now Faye, at that point, is even more aware than Jet, and tells Spike, why are you throwing your life away? And Spike says, I want to see if I'm really alive. And he goes, and then Faye decides to let him go. She doesn't stop him. She shoots her gun. She cries because she knows that he's gonna die, but she lets him go because she supports what Spike wants to do, despite that she wants Spike to stay. And he goes to the dragon. He goes through all that. He throws a grenade. He uses C4. He shoots the henchman. He gets towards the top. He gets shot. He meets one of his comrades that betrayed Vicious to be on his side. He gets shot and killed too. And then Spike ends up reaching the top of the building where Vicious is at, and they get into a fight, and it ends up in a draw. But the difference was that Vicious slashed Spike with a sword, so you don't die immediately from a sword slash. But Spike shot Vicious with a gun, which can kill you immediately. So Vicious dies. So then Spike has mortal wounds. He got hurt before that. He got shot in the gut. He got slashed up. So he's like struggling to walk downstairs. Vicious's men see him and see that Vicious is killed. So at that point, all of the men there are like, okay, Spike's our new boss. So Spike looks up to them, puts out his hand, makes it in the shape of a gun, says bang, falls on the floor, and dies. And that's the end of Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop, in my opinion, is one of the best animes that was ever made. It has very great storytelling, amazing music. If you can ignore Toys in the Attic, which is a filler episode, it is an incredible journey. The director was allowed to do whatever he wanted. There was no restriction. It was free of expression. There's so much good stuff I can say about that anime. But watch it. Watch Cowboy Bebop. It is based. It is absolutely based. Based department is absolutely based.